Late in 1895, Wilhelm Conrad Röntgen first noticed the strange effect which led to the announcement of his discovery of X-ray.
They remained a mystery even to the scientists. That is how they got their name. X for the unknown.
Hello. DJ, cut it. Whoa. DJ Khaled, is that you? What's up, everybody?
We the best.
We are the best. We are the Catheter Jockeys. And we're going to go right the gate. We fired Roosevelt. He's gone. He quit the show. And we brought our other favorite RA. We brought our other favorite RA, Reese, that magnificent Bragoon, from the world famous Collaboration RA podcast, the number one most informative and educational and fun podcast, tied with Catheter Jockeys and Red Tech Podcast.
I like it. No, I think we mainly did this because no one can really tell Roosevelt and myself apart. We look pretty close.
Pretty close.
Sound same, look the same. Whole nine.
Yeah.
Both very well educated.
Yeah, even if this was a live video podcast, it would be very tough to tell.
Let's go live right now. Screw it. Should we tell them where are you from again, Reese?
I am in Texas.
We are live from Texas. We flew to Reese for this very special episode. We are in the heart of Texas, right outside of what was the city again?
Dallas-Fort Worth.
Yeah. Oh, DFW.
All right.
Coming to you live, Catheter Jockeys Rat Tag Podcast. And thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. We got a lot on deck today. I'm excited to talk about anytime anything comes up in pop culture, in the news, that is like rad-centric, radiology-centric, X-ray-centric, jam on it. I'm all about it. Chernobyl, solid. What other X-ray? That was the only thing I did. I thought there was a lot of stuff, but
wait a second.
Hostel 3, solid.
Last of Us.
Last of Us. Is there radiation in that?
Fungi. Mutant fungi. I don't know. I was thinking of our episodes. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Cut that. But we're coming on the heels from arguably one of the best episodes yet, talking about Radium Girls and the author of that magnificent book and subsequent movie. And yes, go ahead.
Rewind. So we were going to do this as a prequel.
Yeah.
Right, Reese?
Yeah. This is the
Let's go.
This is the intro. And the inspiration was from the good, not the Good Nurse. I'm thinking the Good Doctor, the TV show.
Oh, that's a good show.
That's a good show.
I'm a doctor.
I am a surgeon. But no, I think we're gonna do a nice little intro. I had begged the jockeys for a spot. I was like, I think this is going to be a cool topic to bring out because y'all keep it relevant. Y'all keep it, whether it be 100 years ago, it could have been 5 years ago. I thought it was good, and so I ran it by you guys, and y'all were like, "Sounds great, but you're gonna run it." I was like, "Oh man, homework."
Who did that? Did Roosevelt do that?
Yeah,
that was definitely a Roosevelt assignment.
That's a weird power move. Why did you do that?
Yeah, and then
like, I don't know how to read
and then he
good.
just ghosts me for the episode. I'm like, okay.
I've never known him to do that. What an interesting move. Hey, you guys want to do this? Yes, but you must do. Gotta love him. My man's busy. He's doing a lot. He's got a lot of irons in the fire.
A lot of fires.
Is that right? Irons. No, a lot of fires.
He needs fewer irons or more fires.
Yes. Yes.
Let's go with the former.
His house is on fire.
So anytime anything Radiology Center comes on, because I mean, should I mention the latest thing that came? I mean, I love it whenever there's if there's a TV show or a movie and there's an X-ray centric thing in there, I genuinely get pumped. Like, we're not super well represented in, TV shows and movies and stuff like that, or the news. When we are on the news, it's usually something bad or horrible. Like MRI, there was a big MRI story recently with what was it? I can't remember at the top of my head, but I get really excited.
They brought a wheelchair or something in a machine. Yeah.
There was another one with like a gun that went off. It's a whole deal. So I get excited about it, which is one of the reasons why I'm excited to have a rad centric podcast. And before we jump into it, can I read a review, guys?
Let's read a review.
I'm gonna actually, Reese, can I put you on the warm seat, as Roosevelt calls it?
Yeah.
Have you hello? Have you left us a review?
Actually,
Uh-oh.
I am actually named in one of your reviews.
Oh, you know what? That's I knew that. That's why I didn't mind putting you on the spot. I do remember that. Thank you for that. Thank you for the English review. You know why? You know this. You have your own podcast. You have Collaboration RA podcast. Leaving a review is huge. Why is it huge? It lets people know you're legit.
Oh, yeah. Well, see, I only have 17 reviews. So
I got to review your stuff. Sorry, I have not reviewed yours, but I will today. I'm going to do it today.
Yeah.
5 stars, thumbs up.
I think I'd start it because I usually listen on Spotify, so you can't leave. I'll leave a written review, because it gives you some validity. And you know what? I'm gonna do it right now. I'm going on Collaboration RA.
Guilt trip.
No.
A live review.
A live. If you haven't listened to Collaboration RA, literally one of my favorite podcasts, because, man, you guys have a good, you're
dynamic,
a perfect dynamic. I learn a lot. I'm challenged sometimes. And I know recently it was a big get, right? You had the ASRT Prez.
And the CEO, yeah.
And the CEO. I think I went to school with the president guy.
They be big timing.
Brandon Smith,
yeah.
Yes. I bumped into him at a conference and I go, hey, what are you doing? He's like, oh, the president of the ASRT. I was like, I don't know if you remember, we were in school together. He goes, yeah, I remember.
Yes, hey, small fry.
When we were in school together, when I was in grad school, I was in a different zone. I wasn't usually in class I have fun, and I was all business, because I was flying in from out of town and seeing the work that they've done. That's a huge job. That's a really tough task to take on, a CEO or president or whichever. And you'll have, the SRT president and CEO on, and then you'll have other RAs or different modalities and stuff like that. It's pretty amazing. I love it.
Yeah. No, it's really fun to meet all these different people from different backgrounds, different modalities, whether they be in the hospital institutions, or on the educational side of things. It's funny how we really are all connected at some point or another. Mm-hmm. And
that's a small community for sure.
Marceline and I, we kind of dove into this thinking about let's just hit the hot topics. And we didn't think people would be listening just to two people hashing it out every week.
Yeah, that's tricky.
And we said, well, let's just bring on someone different and we'll talk about it then. And then next week it was somebody else different. And then next week it was somebody else. And that just continued to snowball. And here we are, I think we're coming up on 2 years.
Nice.
So
do people reach out to you? Be like, hey man, let me on the pod.
Yep.
Dude.
Yep.
Nice.
We have a forums page that went live on our website recently, and that's gotten a lot of activity going right now. So
Also, if you have your own little, that's right. I've heard you mention that on the pod where people can, because that's a big thing. That's one aspect that I haven't got into a ton in general. But if you're active on it and you stay on top of it, man, those are great resources for opinions and information. And I love things like that because no matter what your situation is, no matter what your title is, no matter where you are, sometimes you can think that your problems are unique to your situation or your location or your staff, but man, there are no new problems. Like we're all kind of experiencing similar, short-staffed or, new procedures or increased demand on our services. Every corner of radiology, no matter where you're at, we're all dealing with the same problems. And when you connect with stuff like that, somebody's found the solution most of the time, or you can find the solution by like, oh yeah, I tried that didn't work. Boom, you just saved yourself like 2 weeks of trial and error.
Yep, shared experiences.
It's awesome, man. I love it. So much like we've got Rat Sector Podcast, we've got all kinds of stuff out there. We have people out there leaving us reviews. If you can, leave us a review. And I'm going to be 100% honest with you. If you leave us a review, you can do it on Apple Podcasts. You can actually leave us a note. We will 100% read it. So if you want to be seen or heard to, are we at the millions yet? We're millions of listens, I think. Please don't pull up the analytics on that.
Millions. Why not? Billions.
I'm going to read 2 reviews. One of them I've already read, but it's so one of my favorites that I'm going to read it again. Great show from Caesar. 5 stars. Oh, thank you for that. He goes, you guys got me through my first tattoo. Keep up the work.
Dang, that's pretty entertaining. Just get you through a tattoo.
I know where you're going with that, Reese.
Wait.
Just keep up the work. Not good work, not great work. Just, hey, keep working.
You be working. All right, what kind of tattoo it was?
And probably actually, I think it was the Catheter Jockeys logo, I think, which it kind of changes. So you might want to get a good cover up artist.
You should have seen the original.
If you want to see the original, go to Catheter_Jockeys on Instagram. That's pretty gnarly.
Yeah. Stick figures dried in noodles.
I know. I still Catheter Jockeys. We've got another 5-star review. It's titled My Favorite Radiology Pod from one of my favorite Instagrammers, Karina, the CT educator. She said, your show showed up on my Instagram feed when you guys gave me a shout out, or when you guys gave a shout out to this rad guy, another great X-ray account. And I just had to follow the podcast. I've been hooked ever since, as you guys share awesome information mixed with humor. Thank you for doing what you do and supporting me on my podcast, The CT Educator. Karina, I like what you did there at the end, little self-promoting. I dig it. And well worth it because her podcast actually is pretty legit, especially if you're in the CT space. And she kind of goes over a lot of stuff, but she's really dialed in with the CT education and stuff like that. So sincerely, from the bottom of our hearts, thanks for taking the time to leave us a review. After you leave us a review, go ahead and buy us a drink if you want, if you're feeling up to it.
Or 3 drinks. We're thirsty.
Reese, have you bought us a drink? Yes, you have. I actually saw that on there.
Reese has bought us a few bottles.
Let's go.
We're well stocked from Reese.
I don't know. I'm trying to think. It was a few months ago, right? Because I did notice that after you gave us some drinks, Roosevelt had like a nice pair of sneakers shortly thereafter. So I don't know if there's any correlation, but
actually why he's not here tonight. He's out to a nice steak dinner. He said it's a work meeting, and I'm like, well, we didn't get invited, so you can't be working too hard.
I love it. So we've given you 3 rad-centric things to listen to: Catheter Jockeys, CT Educator, Collaboration RA. But today we're here to talk about the big screen. There is a super rad-centric movie, and if you're so inclined, book. What's it called, Reese?
The Radium Girls.
Radium Girls.
Yeah, Radium Girls.
As soon as I saw it, as soon as I saw the trailer for it, I was like, oh yeah, I'm about this life.
Well, I watched the movie, and this was. I sat down on the couch. Got everything set up. My wife, who does not watch movies, is still a little burnt after the watching Chernobyl series that
we made you watch.
That you made me watch
Oh,
it.
no.
And she looks at me and says, "Is this going to be depressing?"
Chernobyl was kind of rough.
And I was like,
no.
most things with radiation are. So
Right?
yeah.
Is there a fun radiation? Spider-Man? No, that wasn't radiation. We got
Could
to,
have been.
guys, I think we have a big gap in the market. I think we can, let's make a fun radiation. Rad Burns by
Yeah.
Jim Carrey.
Oh.
That's funny.
I said it before on I think another episode somewhere that there's money to be made in just hijinks in the radiology department in the ER. Just a few techs
100%.
cutting up, forming trauma bonding their experiences.
Ooh, I actually like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You
See?
can get like
It would be it would be a hit. That's for
we
sure.
can tie in the mental health there. Which actually, that's a really good. That would be awesome. That would be pretty amazing.
Y'all don't happen to have any, writers for screenplay, script work?
Yeah, we do.
In
Ed, Angry Eddie. Yeah,
There you go.
and I have this friend Steven, last name Spielberg. I think he's he does like,
I don't know if you've heard of him.
like short films and stuff like that. Probably mostly YouTube, but he's kicking it. He's doing good. I love it. So give me a quick little synopsis if you haven't seen or heard of Radium Girls. John, did you do your homework? Did you watch the movie and or read the book?
I read the book, did not watch the movie actually.
Nice. Perfect. That's actually perfect because I've only watched the movie. I haven't read the book yet.
And I don't think they're too well. I think they're kind of the same story, but from what I heard, that the book is a little bit more very detailed.
Really. Like where are we
more
getting
more like real life accounts?
Getting
like
some like
history,
Millie Sieverts in there. We're getting some bad reports.
Yes. Lots of Millie Sieverts, maybe some Currys in there.
So do you guys get excited when you see something rad centric? Like
yeah, I mean it's not up there with,
The Rock releasing a new tequila or something. I get it.
Right. Or like Fast 47, but Fast and Furious 47.
Yeah, I get it. We're all getting really excited about that. I get excited like a kid. Like I point to like my phone or like the magazine and I show my wife like, look, it's talking about X-ray tech. What was it, sweetie? Oh, he murdered some people, but it's an X-ray tech.
There was a portal. It just drove by.
Yeah, I love it.
So, but it very eye-opening, and it's a very great book to kind of and topic to just kind of appreciate where we're at in our profession, because without kind of these oopsies with working with radiation back in the day, our profession may not be as safe and regulated as now.
Those trailblazers, they someone paid the ultimate price.
Yeah. Usually if there's rules that you have to follow at work, it's usually because a lot of people had to die for those rules to be put into place.
You know what? That is an astute observation, Reese. That's why for the most part, when something new comes down the line, I'm like, Roger that. All right.
Yeah.
I don't even want to know why this is a rule. But
Why do you think in like 3-foot letters it says magnet is always on?
Whoa.
Yeah. Big
I bet that sign
flashing
used to be a
lights.
lot smaller, if even existent. Oh, wow. That's a super good point.
And we're still having issues with that, like y'all talked about.
I'm telling you, I still see it come up on the news all the time. In fact, one of the MRI ones, this is a real story. You can look it up. Patient had an MRI and they had, how will I say it? Like an adult toy in their rectum.
Okay.
One for plugging certain orifices. And it was a butt plug. And
Oh, it was way off. I thought the nose.
And they went into an MRI, and I guess it was metal or had steel in it and did some damage. And I didn't know this.
Probably shot right through them.
I guess, I don't know if this is confirmed, so this is completely hearsay. I think the MRI tech was a remote tech.
Yeah, I hear that's the thing now, or at least it's coming down the pipes.
Yeah, I think we've talked about that before.
That one shot through the pipes. It went, it no laughing matter.
Too soon.
Definitely too soon. Sorry. Cut that. So, but I saw somewhere where that, which I kind of forgot that was a thing. Like I'm pretty sure I heard it here, people talking about that. And I thought it was like, oh, that's down the road. But like, no, I guess that's a thing where they're doing remote techs.
Yeah, because I think they have kind of like tech aides that get the patient in the room, and they have these remote things, and the MRI tech can do it remotely from a room, just running the scan and sequence, and they just have like a patient tech assistant.
I don't quite understand the benefit. Are they running multiple machines?
Yeah, they can run.
I would have to assume so. Probably 3 or 4 at a time.
Set up 4 or 5 scanners. Set up your sequences. Hit the go button, and instead of twiddling your thumbs, instead of twiddling your thumbs for 20 minutes, you can go do the next one. So,
how do these things happen? Like, how does that actually? Like, I'm not the smartest guy. I'm definitely the most attractive on catheter jockeys, but I'm not the smartest.
We'll give you that.
But like,
you got to face the
radio. I can tell right out the gate. Yeah, horrible idea. Like if I'm in the meeting and they're like, you know what we should do? All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to have a tech sit at home in their PJs. We're going to put them in charge of 50 MRI machines, and they're just going to zip right on one to the next. I'm in that meeting. I'm like, hey, horrible idea.
They're like,
here's 50 safety reasons why that's bad.
Yeah, Patrick, we don't care. We're going to take that risk. If you look at the sign above the number 4 on your keyboard, that's all we care about.
Hold on, let me see. Hey, hold on. You know what though? You know what I found out a lot of times in meetings where ideas like that or just bad ideas in general are thrown out there. In my limited experience, people are, especially when you're in a group, they're afraid to speak out. They don't want to like rock the boat, or they're afraid to look stupid. Me, I loved being the guy that was like, hey, that thing you just said, that was a horrible idea. And I was more tactful with it, but I had absolutely no qualms about saying, hey, I think there's maybe a better idea, or here's why this idea is probably not the best. Let's try to come up with something a little better. But I've been in many meetings where people, usually when it's stuff that didn't pertain to me, that I didn't really have enough knowledge to really provide input or alternative solution. Like I got the vibe that it was a bad idea, and it was like, I guess they're going to do that bad idea. I'm looking at people's body language and they're all thinking it's a bad idea, but nobody's saying nothing. But I don't know. It's wild. It really is.
That's what you call a red flag moment.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I was usually the one waving it and I just bark up, but I don't know. I don't understand. The whole remote thing blows my mind. It's crazy. Absolutely insane.
All right. Reese, let's hear your thoughts about Radium Girls.
Well, I was the overachiever. I actually read the book first, then I watched the movie. But the caveat to that is I got this book.
Whoa.
And it's up there. But
bro, that's a big dog.
I'm not gonna lie, I did not notice this when I bought the book. Because all I saw was Radium. I was like, oh, this is my jam. I love it.
Yes.
And I was probably halfway through the book before my wife pointed out, she goes, why does it say Young Readers Edition?
Bro, you got a teen fiction edition?
I got the teen fiction edition.
Your book came with coloring pencils, didn't it?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I...
shout out to Books A Million clearance section. Let's go.
What's it? The Goosebumps series that like glowed in the dark. Some of the covers did.
Fear Street.
You guys ever have it? Yeah, maybe that was it. Fear Street.
Heck yeah, man! I'm a Goosebumps guy for life.
Goosebumps.
Shout out to R.L. Stein.
R.L. Stein.
What makes it a teen edition?
They have tailored down some of the language as well as,
What?
some of
It's pretty gruesome, actually.
Mhm.
Some of the descriptors in here, what happens
So
to these
John
girls.
read the big boy version.
Yeah, look at this thing. It's like War and Peace.
Oh, it does say, it says Big Boy edition.
But what
All right,
because
I'm gonna make a
we
confession.
we did a comparison. Mine actually has more pictures. So
His does. I was a little jealous.
Can you show me one?
sure, let's flip to it.
I love that. God bless our wives. She's like, listen, all right, here's John's picture.
Yeah.
John's got a picture of the gals. They look like a sassy bunch, as
look at them.
indicated by the movie. They're having a good time at work.
A little out to picnic, loving life, painting
Does she
some
show any like gnarly
dials.
pictures?
They're painting some dials in there.
So let's bring it back. Ultimately, the movie Radium Girls. Give me like the Reader's Digest version. Oh, okay. Jeez.
Here's your sarcoma.
Yeah,
Jeez
jawbone.
Louise.
That's a jawbone that fell off of a face.
So give me the rundown of this movie. Give me like the trailer for those that haven't watched it.
Yeah, so if you have not watched this, basically back just around the 1910s, 1920s, there were plants across America that were painting radium paint. There was a radium powder mixed with water, and there were these girls painting them onto watch faces. So like the hands and the numbers, so that you could, it would glow in the dark and you could tell what time it is in the middle of the night. There were also
Greatest thing since sliced bread.
yeah.
Actually, this might have came before sliced bread. I'm not sure.
So
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
that was the thing that everyone needed to have. Is like the new best thing. It's like the new
It's like
the
new
new
iPhone.
the new iPhone 15 coming out.
It's like them.
USB
They're
let's go.
they're switching to Android chargers. It's weird.
So
We finally got USB-C on these phones.
yeah. Now and the girls got painted per watch face, and I think it was something like 6 pennies per
No,
dial.
it was 1 to 3 cents.
Yeah, it was.
On the movie.
Yeah, it was something like chump change, but that's what
Yeah.
they did. And it was a coveted job because, they were labeled as an artist in the community, and they got perks of the job, which mean they could take the radium home and play with it and paint it with it home and stuff like that. And that's how radium was advertised. It was advertised as a wonder drug cure-all for general ailments,
Yeah,
headaches.
radium tonic.
Cosmetics.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they put it in just about everything. Kind of like back in the day, they would X-ray your feet to see if they fit the shoes. Have y'all heard
Oh,
about
yeah,
that?
the shoe store. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So,
The fluoroscope.
and then people's toes start falling off. They wonder why.
Yeah. Then, like all things America that gets too
Easy.
successful,
Watch it.
World War I happens, and then there is this industrial boom and need for radium painted dials on all things military, fighter jets, boat, warships, everything. So there was a huge need for more workers, obviously, more essential workers. So they grew their plant. I think they were working out of a high school gymnasium or art studio at one point when they first started with this company. And they grew and expanded and hired, I think it was like 300 girls. And so over time, this was like you said, 1910s, within about, 3 years or so, some of the girls started getting sick, and they were coming down with illnesses that no one had ever seen, heard of, been before. They thought it was phosphorus poisoning or syphilis. And so these girls were basically kind of gaslighted to believe that their job was not, killing them because
Yeah, it was everything except for the radium. Definitely not
everything
that.
besides the radium. Yeah. Maybe it was the zinc mixture or something that was mixed with the paint to help make it glow. It was just kind of spiraled from there about corporate cover up, government covered up, doctors covering up. And these poor girls basically had these horrific illnesses and horrific painful deaths as a
Long and
result
slow.
of the radium exposure.
And I think the movie does a really good job of showing how drawn out it was. It's just real slow, real painful, and they weren't getting much traction as far as headway, fighting this in courts. It's all basically he said, she said. The girls say it's due to the radium. The doctors that look at them and say, "No, it's due to syphilis." I didn't even get the syphilis in my book.
Well, they did. They cut that out.
Yeah.
What was kind of dark about that was, at least this is the kind of conclusion I drew from the movie, was especially in the 1910-ish, they would say that it was syphilis in hopes of the women would feel shame and not share that kind of diagnosis. So that's dark, man. What kind of human being says, "Hey, we'll say it's like this STD, so that way they'll just keep their mouth shut about it, so that we can keep doing our thing." That, I don't know. I don't know how do you look at yourself in the mirror every day when you're doing that kind of stuff. It's creepy.
No, the movie did a good job about portraying that. But I will say, like, from the timeline of events, when you compare the movie to the book, and obviously movies, I get it. You're trying to tell a story in an hour and a half. Yeah. Sometimes 2 hours. And you're trying to
sometimes keep 3 hours.
Relevant. Yeah.
Talking to you,
Avatar.
Endgame. But I was, trying to line up the events, and it was basically following these girls. Maybe like one girl died. And I was like, according to the book, there was like 20 that had died by this point.
So, now, in the teen edition, do they die, or do they just like go night-night?
He's going to go to the long sleep.
Yeah. How many was it? I'm sorry.
It was like 15 to 20.
Oh my god.
Girls had died by that point. Whereas the movie really only portrayed like one or two at that timeline. So,
jeez Louise.
Yeah.
That's
dark. They actually were digging up some of these girls who had been buried by 2, 3, 4, 5 years later. Mm-hmm. Once they got permission from the family, they would dig up these girls and do radiation testing on their bones, and they would show this just clicking away. Yeah.
I mean, that's a kind of a good point. And so, radium itself in its purest form, its half-life is 1,600 years, I think. Just like with radiation, limit your exposure to everything. So these girls were working with it, ingesting it.
Yeah, John, tell them how they ingested that. They weren't just eating paint.
Yeah, right? So to save time, they gave them these very fine camel brushes, these little very fine tip brushes, so that they could paint each individual number. So each
like on a watch,
like on a watch or a dial, each individual number, they would dip their brush into this powder. Or sorry, they would lick their brush, dip it into the powder, paint, lick the brush again, dip it, paint, every single number. And so, as we all know in radiology, the more exposure that you get, the greater the effects, the sooner the effects from the radiation that you get. So hard workers or stellar employees that were doing all the watches are unfortunately some of the ones that got sick first.
Yeah, the ones with the highest numbers were really suffering.
That's why you limit yourself when you go on a portable run. Be like, no, I can only do 5.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dr.
Listen,
Smith.
Cafeteria closes at 9 a.m. Got to get my tots.
Sorry.
Tater
tots. Tot time trumps radiation exposure time. Sorry, Doc. Maybe you shouldn't have ordered chest X-ray on every single person in the ICU.
Yeah, that's one of the greatest orders of all time. Daily chest X-ray. Indication. Daily chest X-ray. Oh, okay, great. Report. No change. Okay, great. I'm glad I wasted my time. Thank you.
Man, I was that morning portable guy. I used to go to work at 5:30 in the morning, and I would crank those out so that way the docs could come in full of tots and coffee and not even know I was doing a daily chest X-ray on their patient. And I was like, "Hey, I've been doing this 12 days. Can we nix this?" They're like, okay." And then I went to do it again the next day when they did.
They need to know seeing is believing,
for sure. And speaking of seeing is believing, with the Radium Girls, I just couldn't believe the extent to which, I mean, it's kind of gross. The extent to which they covered it up. I mean, like you said in your notes, it's deny. And I guess it's because, I mean, obviously there's a ton of factors, but I just don't know how those things happen. I get there's a lot of money at stake and there's industries at stake, but.
Well, I mean, and think about the time too. Something happens today, you can't fart without someone knowing across the world.
Yeah.
So
I saw that.
It was easier to it's easier to keep quiet when there are these isolated events that may threaten your business or threaten your livelihood or threaten your power. And then also it's just like blissful ignorance too, because this was the first time that anyone had really seen this type of radiation poisoning or even thought about that it may be radiation poisoning until they got more experience.
That's true. I mean, it is kind of on the heels of the discovery of it. It wasn't that far from that.
I think they were trying to get it included in like workers related injury type, because there had been a lot of hype about poison in the workplace, specifically at like leather tanneries and their use of mercury. There, people were getting mercury poisoning, heavy metal toxicity, and there had been a number of list of poisons that were counted toward these worker-related deaths and injuries and sicknesses. And they were trying to include radiation to that. And everyone's like, no, this isn't radiation. And so the Radium company that would hire these girls, they also hired their own private team of doctors, and of course they're paying them, and there's like they've said, oh yeah, you're good, you know. So it's a lot of money on top and under the table. I'm sure that was all just cover up after cover up before finally the government started getting involved, because there were so many girls dying, young girls, and we're talking like 20 to 25. That's how old these girls were.
Oh wow.
Well, I think some of them, at least in the book, said some of them kind of got hired when they were like 12 to 14 too.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
And so speaking on the doctor part, so the dentists actually were among the first people to see the girls and what was happening to them, because their teeth were falling out because they were developing these abscesses from necrosis. And then in extreme cases, you know, they would lose their teeth, they would pull them, and in extreme cases, their jaw would just come dislocated from the rest of their skull.
Oh my goodness.
I think, at least in the book, one girl's jaw fell off before she died. Or, you know, just think like any other head and neck cancer destroys pretty much all the vital things. And so tumors once they break through the skin, they get ulcerated and then they bleed.
Meanwhile, the whole time you're being told it's like, it's a zinc or something, man. Sorry.
I might have read the young readers edition,
Tina Dish,
but it went into detail about how some of these
they had a boo boo.
One of these girls' face kind of eroded away into a vascular component of her face.
This was the most horrible.
And it happened in literal seconds, where she drowned in her own blood because it was bleeding so much.
Yeah, like bled into her. I think they said either jugular.
Yeah.
But basically eroded that away, and so then it just basically dissected, and she just drowned. And
that's horrible.
Yeah, it was bad. And then, so to me, it was just mind blowing that it took them, I think it was like 20 years after the first girl died to
20 years
for these girls to work to get someone, to have a lawyer that would work for their case to basically fight and have a lawsuit and sue these companies. And the companies would, obviously fight back and put all these disinformation campaigns out. They would do their own studies and say how safe radium was. And, finally there was just too many people dying. This happened in two places in New Jersey and Illinois. And so finally they kind of got wind of each other, and that just kind of escalated the events. And there's like 5 girls in Illinois that once they won their case, they got a settlement. Then all the girls kind of a lot of the girls kept coming forward, suing the companies, and the judge at the time ruled that they had to pay them out so much and pay for their pay for their medical expenses, and everything.
I think they covered all medical expenses, and I think they got a yearly allotment of money for the remainder of their short lives. So,
and you said it took 20 years to kind of get to that point where they, geez Louise, I can't even begin to imagine the kind of fallout from stuff like that.
Yeah, and so if you can imagine, some of these girls were alive for that whole entire time, and they held on, fighting anemia, leukemia, sarcomas in their body where they had to get their limbs cut off in order to try and stop it because they couldn't figure out any cure, any way to stop it or reverse it.
Wow.
And some people got better on their own because they didn't have as great of an exposure, or they were younger and were able to kind of fight it off faster, recover.
And they obviously didn't have the information superhighway that is the World Wide Web back then. I mean, they had newspapers. Kind of
isolated.
Yeah, it's very isolated events in these different areas. And so once it kind of got out that these girls won in this area, then it inspired other girls in other radium-based locations to start fighting as well. So
how do they source the radium? Where do they get the radium powder from?
Curies.
So it comes from uranium ores. Well, so at least for the book, there was only 2 kind of factories that were like really getting it from the suppliers and like really had the big stockpiles of it. Mm-hmm. Because radium isn't really good for anything other than they found that it can be luminescence. And then they thought it was good for your health because it increased your blood counts. And that's why they thought it was like a healthy tonic. But uranium is where it comes from the uranium ores. And then as a byproduct of that is the radium. And then as radium decays, people may be familiar with radon gas that we have to get checked for, or some places you got to get checked for that have like basements coming up.
Radon
gas.
And is that why I have to get radon testing for my granite countertops or something like that?
Yep.
Isn't that a thing?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That's a thing. So, as a result of all that, mostly it was just commercialized because of the radioluminescence that it had. And so
that's wild. Something that we so take for granted now. Like my water bottle here has like an LED light. Like it's over 100 years ago now. Mm-hmm. They found this or discovered this product and it glows after exposed to light. Or
quick quiz: which other X-ray contrast that we use do you think it's most closely associated with?
Radium and is it barium?
Barium. Yep.
Let's go.
Which one do you think is heavier metal?
I'm going to say barium.
I need to look at a periodic table, please.
Radium is the heaviest alkaline earth metal.
Oh, okay.
It's also the only one that's radioactive too.
Oh, wow. So now in watch dials they use tritium now. So if you have a watch,
tritium.
If you have a watch right now, it's glowing in the dark, fear not. We're not using radium anymore.
So they say.
So I don't know. I'm just glad. Speaking of that, I'm just so glad that over 100 years later, all the corporate and government interests are all on the same page, and there's no cover-ups at all anymore. We're free and clear of all the shenanigans, and we're good. We're good to go
with radium paint. We're only speaking about radium paint. There would be no ever corruption anywhere else.
Yeah, it really is. At the end of the day, it's an astounding story. Even if I get it, if you're not like us, you don't want. I know you guys. It's gonna be hard to believe. There's gonna be people out there when they get off work, the last thing they want to do is be learning or watching stuff work centric or radiology centric. But even if you're not that into X-ray like us nerds, the story really is astounding because it's a testament to perseverance and triumphing and just not, because that takes a huge amount of guts to fight when experts and doctors and governments are telling you, nope. That takes a tremendous amount of courage in my eyes. And I think the movie and, like you said, the book does a really good job of exemplifying that. So can I tell them what's coming up next week or next episode rather?
Yeah. I mean, you got to set that narrative hook somehow. Yeah. You got to keep
teasing. So we're so into this. mainly Reese Teen Dish Burgoon. He was so moved by the teen edition. How did you, so I was going to say, we got the author of Radium Girls to come on the pod. And by we, I mean 100% Reese Burgoon. How did this, I mean, I don't know if you go into it on the thing, but
high places.
how did this come about? Like,
So I read the book and then I ran it by the Ghost of Roosevelt. And he's like, yeah, it sounds great. Run with it. And so I ran with it. I took my marching orders and looked up the email for the author, and I emailed her.
What? Reese, I absolutely love that. I love those wild stabs in the dark where you're just like, hey, man, what's going to happen is they can reply.
Now, I did throw out some names.
Yeah.
Mainly
Patrick and John.
Yeah. Well, I was like, I am a host on a radiology-based podcast called Collaboration RA, and I have been a guest host on a different radiology-based podcast called The Catheter Jockeys.
Let's go.
Would you be interested or have the time available to come on one of these for an interview about the Radium Girls? Because I think it's a story that needs to be told. And I sent it out and I went to bed. And I didn't think anything of it until 10 days later.
Oh, nice.
I get a little ringy ding in the inbox, and it's her. It's Kate Moore. That's her name. She goes, "Hey, I emailed you a week ago." And I was like thinking, like, what happened? Like, did it go to my junk? I'm checking my junk folder. She goes, "No, it's all me." It was her email wasn't sending out of that account, so she had to switch to a different email. Copy and paste everything over and send it from that other thing. So
no way.
We went back and forth for, I want to say, a good month. Just like, hey, here's what we are. Here's what we're to do. Here's probably what it's going to sound like. If you want to check out previous episodes of what it may sound similar to, I actually threw out some Catheter Jockeys episodes for her to go check out.
Nice.
And we set it up.
She canceled.
Which no. Well, that took some. That was the hardest part because she is based out of the UK, and that was the very first time I had ever done an international podcast recording.
That's awesome.
And it worked out well. I think it's going to be. There were some hiccups based upon internet availability, and I think it had something to do with conversion units from metric and
the way the air frequency carries the sound.
Yeah.
I absolutely I love that. That's so cool when somebody that's in the space and they're open to just talking about it, and that's how you elicit change, and that's how you kind of spread the word about stuff. And how cool is it that literally, because I imagine I've seen the book, the author, she worked really hard on it. Telling this big, massive story about a time in our history. And man, how cool is that? So if you are jazzed about this episode, if you're jazzed about radiology, make sure you tune in next episode. We have the author of the Radium Girls on the pod. I think we're going to be corralling Prof B in on it, the whole nine. And
it's going to be a good time.
I'm super excited because I can't wait to listen to it. I can't wait to share it with all you guys because that's what we're here for. We're doing the dirty work for you. You don't have to be entrenched like we are. We're on message boards. We're following other cool radiology accounts. We're watching the news stories and we're reading the books for you. So that way you can just chill out on your drive-in.
Yeah. And if it piques your fancy, go ahead.
You're doing your 5-step portables and we are going to do the work for you. So that way you don't have to be obsessed with radiology like us. So I don't know. I love it. Reese, thanks so much for putting this on our radar because like I said, once I knew that we were going to do this, I was like, I gotta learn all I can about this stuff. So man, thanks for putting this out there and getting this on the books for sure, man.
Dude, it's been fun. It's going to take me a week to listen to it. I don't know, because I always listen to y'all on my commute into work. My commute is 3 minutes. And so,
Oh wow,
so it takes a week for me to finish an
maybe
episode.
2 weeks. Yeah.
that's awesome. You live that close. I
Yeah,
drive a
I'm
lot for
jealous.
work. I listen to War and Peace, and I can probably do that on the drive in.
That's before you hit McDonald's up.
I know it's crazy, man.
Right there.
You got anything left, John Reese?
No,
What do you want to talk about next?
I want to talk about.
I'll run with it.
I want to talk about one of my favorite podcasts, Collaboration RA. If you're not following, you're not listening, do so right now. Immediately. Pause the pod. Go follow them. Subscribe to their stuff. Rate them. Review them, which is I will as well. I don't know. I think it's just amazing that we can connect on these kind of things, and I'm super honored that people are tuning in and listening to podcasts like yours and ours, and super fortunate, man. I love it.
Yeah, you might even learn something.
Not likely, but possible.
John,
Well, we
what?
did learn where radium is sourced from.
We did.
I love it. I think we should put a pin on it.
Yeah. Then thanks for letting me come on and do this, because this is not something necessarily that Collaboration RA would produce.
Anti-radium. You're here first.
We tend to stay more on the education and advocacy side of things, which is great. I like that we can have our own little.
Yeah.
Listen,
Back
you
to
have
You
an
guys
open
put a-
invite.
You guys are putting a voice out there. Yeah.
You
Anytime you
and you and Marceline have an open invite. Anytime, one or both, or all of you, whoever, come on the pod anytime, because there definitely needs to be that education slash what was the other $5 word? The where you're representing and everybody. I think it's important to have that out there. And as always, you guys have an open invite. It's cool that we can collaborate.
Well,
Ooh, see what I did there?
Hey, I see.
Let's go.
See, it's a two-way street. John's already come on. He's had an episode with us. It's really good.
Yeah. It was on there
One of my
twice, actually.
favorites.
So all we have
It's
to
my
do
favorite too, to be honest.
is to get your loyal fan base to harass you just a little bit more, and we can get Mr. Tater Tots himself
Heyo.
on for his very own collaboration episode.
Let's go. I wouldn't want to do that to you or your audience. I've got nothing to teach you.
Whatever.
What could I teach you about?
You got some of those old obsolete modality initials
Yeah, QC.
behind your
I don't
name.
think they've done a QC episode yet.
It's QM, gentlemen.
QM, my bad.
Thank you.
See?
That's
We-
Mr. QM.
The people need to know, Pat.
Yeah, it's,
I don't like that you call it old and obsolete. One of the other descriptors would have been just fine, Reese. You have to do the double whammy on me.
listen, yeah, take honor in your accomplishments.
Oh, I do. I loud and proud. I have 0.0 sham. I write it every time. It's on my it's on my email signature and everything. Boy, it mostly confuses people. They're just like, huh? What is that? I love it. Thank you guys for coming over here on the show. Thanks for listening. John, hit the music. Go. Boom.
Music time. Music time.
Don't
Yeah.
lick the radium.
Don't lick the radium. Don't glug the Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce. You know. Thanks for tuning in.
Sugar glug glug.
If you haven't already, like, subscribe,
Thank you again,
Great.
everyone, for listening.
review, buy us a drink.
Bye.
We gotta pay for this Riverside house. We gotta pay for website hosting.
Drink. It's
Buy us a
coming
drink.
out of Roosevelt's pocket. We don't care.
Roosevelt is laundering the money.
He's like, well, guys, we're doing really well. We owe $10 million in taxes this year. I'm like, what?
Love it. You're still listening. My goodness, thank you. You should have definitely went on to like a different podcast by now. But thanks for the support. Thanks for your time. Thanks, DJ John. And we're out.
Bye-bye.
And we're out.